Hi everyone, my name is Cordelia Cranshaw. I'm the reigning Miss District of Columbia, USA 2019.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. So, my name is Isaiah Palomo, and I'm the Young Leaders Coordinator here at FosterClub. With us, we have Yesenia, a former 2018 All Star, and we also have Cordelia Cranshaw. And I'm sorry if I said your name wrong, so correct me. But she was recently crowned as Miss District of Columbia, USA. And do you want to tell us a little bit more about yourself, Cordelia?
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I am super grateful that we were all able to schedule a time for me to be interviewed. I am the reigning Miss District of Columbia USA, and I think what makes this connection so unique is that I actually grew up and aged out of the foster care system. When I was 12 years old, my mom was for 10 years in prison with being an alcoholic, which resulted in me going into the foster care system. Instead of using that situation and that circumstance to hold me back, I used it as motivation to push me and persevere through my challenges, which have me where I am today.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. I'm so excited for this interview. So with that, I'm going to pass it on to Yesenia.
Well, hello. I just want to start off by saying thank you so much for letting me do this interview. It's such a great opportunity, and I'm really excited to hear your answers. So I think we can kind of just go right into it, if that's okay with you. I kind of just want to start off. Yeah, okay, awesome. I kind of just want to start off by saying, congratulations, and that you just must be feeling like on top of the world. You're being featured on Foster Club's website now. Like you said, you're the reigning queen of our nation's capital. You're working successfully in your chosen field as a social worker, which I feel like is important for former foster youth like myself, to be able to make a difference in that field. And not only that, you're the founder, president, and CEO of the beautiful organization like Acts of Random Kindness. And just, so much more, like an inspirational role model and advocate. And I've just loved getting to research you. So how big does your success from like all of your hard work and perseverance make you smile?
Sorry, I didn't hear the last part. Sorry about that.
Oh, I got it all pumped up, right? I just was saying, how big was all of your success and the perseverance that you've put forth to be where you are? How big does that make you smile at the end of the day?
I feel really good. Winning this title allows me to use my voice and my story on a larger platform and reach so many more people. And so with such a hardship that had happened in my life prior to being crowned, I just felt so honored and blessed to be able to represent a population where most people look at us and they think that we're not going to be successful in life. And I just know that our voice matters, representation matters, and I'm just so grateful that I was able to turn a negative and really just things that I wanted for myself. And it really does makes me happy.
That's awesome to hear that. So hearing about how happy that you're feeling right now with your success, 5 years ago, while you were in the system, if someone would have asked you, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Do you think you would have said that you would have been Miss DC, or do you think, or what would have been your response at the time?
I certainly would have not expected to be the reigning Miss District of Columbia, USA. I thought I had given pageants up. We started pageants when I was in foster care, and I didn't necessarily financial means or the support that I needed to be successful in. And I kind of had just chalked it up to say, hey, this is not something that I'm going to do. It's not really for me. So it wasn't something that I really saw for myself in life after, aging out of at the time when I was aging out. If someone looked at me and asked me, where would I be in 5 years, I knew that I would be in my community, that I would be out there trying to change the lives of youth that are aging out through the system. But I went through the foster care system just so I could find my passion and my purpose in life, which is to give back to children and families, help find the tools for their success within their community, locating those resources, and ensuring that their dreams become a reality. I was so grateful to leadership roles and be a peer advocate and go to different conferences where I learned about how to be an advocate for myself, how to use my voice in my case, and in turn teach other children and other youth how to do the same thing. And I went on to become a social worker, and so I was able to understand not only the lived experience of child welfare, but also the professional knowledge, bridging those two together to really just be an impactful person in the system. And I think me being Miss District of Columbia, USA is like a cherry on top, because when you think of a pageant, or when you look at a girl who's competed in a pageant, you may not think of all the hardships or all the other things that she may have faced out of life. And I think that makes me winning so unique. And I'm just so grateful because I'm able to show people across the world that the things that you make you a better person, and you can definitely locate positives out of any negative situation. And that's really my message to youth in foster care, is to really use as motivation, to be a better person, to be a better you, and to turn your dreams into reality.
Oh, that's awesome. That was such a beautiful answer. That's kind of perfect to go into my next question. Just kind of on the track of 5 years ago being in care, and as a youth, you seem that like you've had always that passion.
Sorry to interrupt.
Yes,
Having a little hard times hearing everyone, so could we just speak a little bit closer into our mics?
Yep.
And then, yeah,
Sure.
sorry to interrupt.
Okay. So can you hear me better now?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Okay, awesome. So basically what I was saying was I just really enjoyed your answer, and it kind of goes perfectly into the next question, staying on track of, you being in care, and it seems like you've always had the passion to be an advocate and to use your hardships as motivation to do what you want to do in life. And so in an interview with Afro, you said that you worked with several youth who were in the district, and you saw so much talent in these youth, but you saw so much pain that was holding them back from success. And I know when I read that, I had to read it over a few times because it just kind of really hit home to me. I've always used my hard times as my motivation as well, but I didn't realize how many times that I do that. I let all the pain from my past get in my way from going forward. And so after repeating it to myself a couple of times, I guess my biggest question was, did you ever let your pains almost get in the way while you were on this journey to where you are now? And what kind of made you realize, like, hey, this is what I need to do. I need to persevere and I need to push through.
That's certainly a great question, and I feel like with everyone, right? We're human. We are human beings, and ups and downs and ins and outs, and we make mistakes, and sometimes we're a little bit more positive and motivated than other times. So different, right? When I was on my journey in DC USA, I competed 4 times in a row.
Wow.
And I didn't win on the first time like I thought I was. I literally to DC so I could pursue my master's. I knew I had this organization in the I'm out here helping the community. I thought that I was literally the girl for the job. However, I went in there expecting to win, and that wasn't the outcome that I received. And I said to myself, you know what, I'm a little bit older now. I've been able to heal from my experiences growing up. I think I should continue and try this again. But even after the second time and the third time, I still hadn't won. The second and third time, I was a lot harder on myself than I was the years prior. And where I didn't want trying, and I wanted to give up, and I gave in the world that I wasn't the girl that they were looking for. I had this background that they want, I'm not deserving as all the other girls who can afford this and who haven't been through. But then I had my thoughts and perspective. And I had to say to myself, you know what, Cordelia, if this is something that you really want out of life, you have to continue to push and strive. And I'm so grateful I hadn't won any other year than because I wouldn't have been who I was or who I am today 2 or 3 years ago because I was still going through the journey of developing why this meant so much to me. And I always encourage people to enjoy the process, enjoy the journey that you're on, what makes your dreams worthwhile. If I would have just won the first time, I wouldn't have went through not winning and working really hard up again. I wouldn't have been able. So if I would have obtained it too soon, I wouldn't. My story as it is today.
Yeah,
What
for sure.
I say to people is like enjoy the process because the process is really what makes you who you are, right? Which gives that story that you can tell and it makes it all worth it and deserving at the end. And I think that's important about when you things or you're trying to obtain a goal or that you really, really want, but you don't get it on the first try or the second try. And it also shows how much you really want that. Because if I would have given up year 2 or year 3, then I wouldn't really be able to say that that's something that I really wanted out of life if I just gave up and stopped trying. If you really want something, you will go all the way, regardless of the outcome, because then it never gave up. You gave it your all and you didn't stop trying. Important, and that's how we end up becoming who we are and being able to share certain life experiences with other people is through our journey.
Oh, for sure. Thank you for that. I think that a lot of people, especially a lot of former foster youth, need to hear your story and need to hear that answer because a lot of us, we've experienced hardship for way longer than we should have already. We might be very young, but we've already experienced hardship. So sometimes those falling downs feel like 100 bricks falling on us. So I think it's really important to hear your story because it's a prime example that it might take 4 or 5, maybe 10 times before you succeed. But you just have to keep going because even though the ride might be bumpy, at the end of the light is that journey. And for you, it was Miss District of Columbia. I mean, that is just something so huge. And you've had a lot of experience in pageants too. So as a queen with 10 years of pageant experience, that's just such a beautiful thing to be able to do. And going into a little bit of a lighter subject, you've had to answer a lot of, quite a few pageant questions in your time. So I guess my next question for you is a little bit more of a fun one. What is your favorite pageant question that you've ever had to answer and why?
Oh, my favorite pageant question. I just remember my very first interview as with competing for DC USA, and I just remember getting all of these kind of soft questions because the judges just knew I was nervous. And moving fast forward to the year that I won, I actually had a judge. She was Miss America 2010, which was the year that I first entered pageantry, and she asked me about food deserts in the area or just really in general. And I was just so grateful to be able to answer that question and actually have knowledge about it. I don't think that I have a particular question that was maybe my favorite, but what I have learned over the course of my experience in terms of answering questions is that nobody can ever ask me a question that I cannot answer. And I'm really grateful for my pageant training and coaching and experience through mock interviews and being able to stand in front of people and answer an on-stage question or tell the judges what I want them to know about me in a 3-minute interview, because that has prepared me not only to win a pageant but for life. We interview for jobs or we'll meet people and talk to them experience, I'm able to answer any question that's presented to me. Although I had made it to top 5 and I was answering on stage questions, I wasn't personalizing them and I wasn't answering them genuinely. And this year I received a question about what would I tell a young girl who's facing, facing self-esteem, low self-esteem or low self-confidence? And I was able to answer that question wholeheartedly because growing up, not only, but growing up without my parents at my fingertips, bouncing them around from home to home, wearing clothes that may not have been the hottest or the latest trends out, I didn't always feel good about myself, regardless of what I looked like on the outside. And so I was able to answer that question from the deeps of my heart and pour it out on that stage and show everyone in there that self-confidence is all about how you feel from within. And even if a young girl is low self-esteem, that I can inspire her, and that I would use this title and this platform to inspire people to look within and feel good about themselves and really what you feel about yourself and not worry about what everyone in the world on the outside.
Oh, I just love that. Like I said before, you're just such an inspiration to me as well. And I am a young girl, and I have gone through these, I've had tribulations myself. And so I just love everything that you say. You're such an amazing advocate, and I bet you're amazing at your job as a social worker. As an advocate though, and as a social worker by profession, especially being a former foster youth as well, we get this question a lot. What would you change about the foster care system as a former foster club, a former foster club, former foster alumnus? What would be your response to that? I love your wholehearted answer, so I'm really excited to hear this response.
This, the system that's a loaded question, right? Because I obviously can pick away at the system and I can say what they're doing wrong, what they're doing right, how we can improve and how we can do better, right? But one thing that I like to focus on, because I'm a social worker and because I'm able to talk to youth who are actually currently going through that experience, I always focus on how the youth can capitalize on their experience of being in foster care. And a few things that I always tell my youth, the number one thing is that it's not their fault. It's not their fault that they were, maybe abused or neglected or have been put through the things that they've been put through and ending up in the foster care system and even still facing trauma and challenges in the system, right? It's not their fault. And what I encourage them to do is to find out how they can use their voice in their case, especially when they get older. Find how they can use their voice and how their voice can be impactful in their own lives and in their case. And then also understanding that every decision that he or she makes should always be a decision where they're 10 steps ahead of their own life. So making sure that they're 10 steps ahead with school, with finances, with whatever it is, try to be 10 steps ahead when the agency is no longer a part of their life at 18 or at 21. At that point, they're considered an adult. Take on the world that comes. And that may age out of the foster care system may not have a lifelong connection or may not have a forever family. And that's okay, but that does not mean that they can't be successful or have the life that they wish and deserve. And so understanding that it's your life and doing everything in your power to take control and to maneuver through the system with your eye on what you want out of life is so important. And I just hope that social workers and professionals in the child welfare system share this message too with youth that are growing up in the foster care system, so that they have control and that they're always 10 steps ahead of whatever it is that they want out of life to ensure that they're successful, because the odds are already against us. They're already against us. And if they understand that they can forgive and they don't have to keep holding on to all of that dead weight that's on their shoulders, and if they could just really just forgive and understand that their situation is not their fault and that they can move forward and still become successful regardless of the circumstances that they're in, then I think that so many more youth will be able to successfully age out and continue to beat the odds.
I just had to take a breath there because wow, that was just absolutely amazing. I myself went into the system at 12 years old, and I wish I would have had that advice. I wish I would have had a social worker who got it, or even, I know I wasn't informed a lot about my case when I was in there, but even just hearing those words would have helped so much. So I know that there's a lot of children out there that are probably very, very blessed to have you as their social worker. And not only that, now that you've been able to reach such a big audience now with being MissD.C and being such an amazing advocate, I think this is just so beautiful. And I just really want to just keep letting you know that you're just such an inspiration. So Shannon, I don't know, did you want to continue with a few more questions, or would you like to wrap it up?
It's a really depends on if Cordelia has time for some more questions. So far,
oh yeah, I do.
Okay.
Yeah, perfect.
Actually, hold on.
I've probably about 10 more minutes.
All right, so for my last question, I wanted to ask you, because in an article that I read, it said that you were one of 18 siblings. That being said, as far as sibling rights in our system, what might you change or advocate for on behalf of siblings?
I think it's very important that siblings stay connected. I've actually received quite a few messages in regards to how one can advocate that siblings stay together. And I'm grateful that DC works towards ensuring that siblings stay together, because I think it's very important, especially if we as foster youth end up in a situation where we may not be adopted or we may not have this connection forever. Staying connected with our siblings is vital to our family history and to moving forward in life, because at least we have someone who's biologically connected to us to go through this situation with us. And that's what I would really have to say. I hope that states and cities out there understand the importance of keeping siblings together. And I hope that if you're a foster youth and you're listening to this and you're experiencing different in your system, that you use your story and circumstance to go out there and advocate to your local policymakers, or even coming down to DC and advocating for the rights that we deserve to stay connected to our siblings. Because I was at an age when I entered care, I had already knew my siblings. I did what I could to stay connected with them, and that may not have been something that my social worker always did for me. So that if you are at an age where you can make efforts to stay connected with your siblings, even if it's via text, social media, you may not see them all the time, but if you have a way to stay connected with them so that when you are of age and you're able to rekindle that connection, I encourage you to do so.
Yeah, for sure. I know those things are super important to do to keep connected. We have, the internet now as our little pigeon, and we get to stay connected through the internet now and different social media, and we have the internet also available for research, even for other resources. I know FosterClub. I got the opportunity to be a counselor at Camp To Belong. I don't know if you've ever heard of them, but they're actually
No.
Oh, exciting! So I can tell you about it a little bit. Camp To Belong is a camp that is for siblings who are separated currently. So our younger foster youth that might not, have as much of a, well, they should have a voice, but as much of an opportunity to, get together with their siblings through social media. It's a camp where they come together, the foster youth that are separated with their siblings get to come together for an entire week and go to the camp. And it's just like 4-H camp. Awesome. They get to do, yeah, isn't it? They have a birthday party. They have all these things that they create memories that are going to last them a lifetime they don't have these essential memories growing up with their siblings. That's something that, it's just really sad, because that's what they're supposed to be doing at that age. So I think it is super important to keep advocating for siblings and, our rights as humans to be entitled to seeing our siblings. So I think that's super beautiful that that's something that you're also fighting towards.
Yes, my sister actually entered the foster care system, and we were never placed together, but I made it a priority to make sure that I visited her and went to see her, because I knew how easy it could have been for us to be disconnected, and also how much she needed me through that process. I mean, just me being able to help her understand some of the things that she was going through, or help motivate her and empower her to do things a little differently, just was very, very important, I think, to our experience. And so I hope that other youth in the system are encouraged to stay connected with their siblings, their biological siblings.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm just blown away by this interview and speaking and hearing from your experience. I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your day to answer these questions. And I really am just excited, because I know you're going to continue shining and inspiring and leading young people and people that come into your path. Thank you for taking the time out, Yesenia. And with that said, I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day. Thank you so much.
Thank you all so much for having me. I certainly appreciate it, and I admire all the work that you all do with FosterClub. I have used the toolkit myself, which I know is so important and I think so useful, and we use it in Washington, D.C. with our youth, the transition toolkit. I know for me, and this is just a little backstory, when I was aging out of care and we used that, I actually held on to it and saved it. And I think maybe about 2 years ago, I found it and opened it and saw how far I've come. And I saw some of the goals that I reached and saw maybe goals that I didn't reach, but I went a different path in life. And I really admire all the work that you all do. And I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for impacting the lives of foster youth.
Thank you. I'm just so glad that we are able to support young people as we're the national network. So it is great to connect with you, and I'm sure we'll be working together in the future. And thank you, Yesenia, for taking the time out to do all this.
Yep, no problem. Thank you for having me. And I think it's important that we all stick together as former foster youth and current foster youth to keep fighting for our rights and to improving the system. So thank you on my behalf as well. And so I guess this is the time that I would take to say, hi, I'm Yesenia, and I'm a 2018 All-Star.
All right, I think we got everything that we need.